Happy Tears Day. Now, if you follow me on my runic journey, you'll know that on Tears Day, I tend to reflect on my final hours with the rune that I'm carrying with me for this week. And this week, I've had the rune Ing, or Ingwas, and I will talk about the experiences I've had while attached to this rune. As with other weeks, it's certainly been an interesting week. However, trying to reflect on it, I guess, is the point where I have to confront some things internally. I mean, it's interesting that it's a rune about masculinity and fertility. So in many ways it feels appropriate to reflect upon yourself as much as I am reflecting on the rune and the connection to the rune. I have to confront what I'd say almost feel like doubts and fears. See, I'm even hiding behind glasses. I mean, the sun is pretty bright, and I'm sort of parked staring into it. I've got the well, it's an age, I guess, where reviewing your masculinity seems almost a controversial thing to consider or express. On one hand, as a man, you are praised or received better if you're in touch with your feelings and sensitive and affectionate in a way that's better than the, what should we say, traditional stoic sort of I don't know, almost leaning towards toxic masculinity, or what is perceived to be toxic masculinity. And again, in this day and age, we've got a very uncertain sort of sea to traverse. We are in ourselves making the waters a lot more difficult to understand, or perhaps more pertinently, as we are keen to make things more open to discussion, more and more frequently people are keen to shout you down or shut you up, to the point where you can reach a conclusion of just, well, I won't say anything. It's sadly depressing looking at the world sometimes, that often you'll have people say, you can say what you want, say it responsibly, and yet will moderate you if you don't say the right thing, or you don't say what pleases them. And then people stop bothering talking, because the moment you give an opinion that doesn't match what the room, let's call it the room, wants you to say, then rather than it being a differing opinion, it is a wrong opinion because it is not shared by a common majority. And I feel that leaves masculinity in a very uncertain position. Because you either end up being sort of doubtful, or people will raise the banner of misogyny or other such accusations because you want to not betray your physical and mental needs. For myself, to some extent, I can. It's almost like a submitting to the passage of time and age. I make excuses to myself that as I'm approaching my 50th year, exercise, activity, being active becomes harder to do. Now, I am lucky that I have a physical or physically demanding job that has helped fight the tide of time, but I also know I could do more, I could do better, and it's sometimes very difficult to not just motivate yourself, but to surrender to, I don't know, inevitable decline and engage in self-loathing that just really, it's just a downward spiral, really. And you know what you have to do to break the cycle. I know what I should do to break the cycle. And yet, it's really difficult to break those habits. It should be easy. It is easy. Because what it requires is a work ethic, a regime to motivate yourself. And again, I know that engaging in regular exercise encourages you to do more exercise. And this, I think, for a man as opposed to a woman, I'm not going to say I can know how a woman thinks. I'm not going to go there. But from a man's perspective, it seems very much we make rods for our own backs. And we can self-deprecate, weaken, flounder even, as in there. This has been a different week for many reasons, and interestingly, it's a week that involves Father's Day, so that's in many ways, I've not felt that connected to the rune. And I don't want to say it's a negative rune, because it feels, if I'm truly honest, it's probably a case of accepting that rather than me observing the rune is observing me, and it's down to me to make that matter. I mean, there's other things. I've got messages, if you like, that add some credit to this. On one messenger thread, sadly, a friend of mine passed away recently, and only yesterday the details of why he passed were passed on to us, and that in itself is there's your opportunity to wake up and to do something about your general health and fitness and mental health, your mental fitness, because you can really let yourself fall into a rut and decline, and at the end of the day, whether when it comes to you as an individual, you are the person who is responsible for yourself. Yes, we need and welcome support. Ultimately, we have to do our own work. No one is going to do it for you, and you have to be the change that matters. I think this video in particular is a great video for myself, because it's now down to me to hold myself accountable to myself, and to sort of take this as a marker to do something about it, and to see what then happens. No regrets, even on some things that I don't really like the situation of. What I can change, I need to, I will do, and at the end of the day, I can only hold myself to account. Getting older is not an excuse. It's inevitable. It's how you meet it, and you got to keep yourself active. So at this point, I feel like the rune is asking of me rather than me asking of the rune, which is not a bad thing. If anything, it says that working with the runes, it is a two-way relationship. Oh well, if you've watched this video, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to leave it there. Obviously tomorrow is new rune day, so we'll see what we draw, and until then, goodbye, farewell, thank you.